Well, I'll be honest with you, Mark. I get a little nervous when I'm put on the spot, man. And I feel like I don't perform as well when, I feel like it's like lights, camera, action. I don't know why, man. I'm a weird guy like that, dude. I hate being in the limelight, and that's why I try to keep, especially when I'm doing presentations or work, at work. I never use the word I'm presenting, or I always say like we're having a conversation. It's a mental trick I use to kind of keep my anxiety a little lower, if you will.
Sure.
I don't know why I get so nervous, but like that reformulating of things really helps me out. And probably same for a lot of people too.
Sure. Well, that ties into today's topic, because we'll talk about presenting, and we'll kick this thing off. So, Left Coast Caveman Mentality, episode number 38. Primitive well-being through modern hunting and gathering. We hunt and gather fitness modalities, nutritional modalities, and mentalities via books, grocery stores, food service, you name it. We look at products, we look at services, we look at mindsets, we look at what's available out there in the world. The Sylvester and me. Good. So in this, so we were just talking a moment ago before we kicked this thing off about sort of a myriad of things, kind of going with the flow and finding out, kind of being more off the cuff, if you will. And we were talking last week about several things and talking about how we kicked this thing back up and running. We're up and running again, mainly because we just kind of decided to do so. And then we committed to the calendar and just put it on both of our calendars and decided we're going to do it. We touched a little bit last week on this because you texted me tonight. Hey, are we doing the cast tonight? Shouldn't even be a question, right? Because once you commit to something and you put it on the calendar, what do you let get in the way of that? What should you let get in the way of that? Could anything get in the way of that, right? And we were talking last week about we try to keep this thing consistent from week to week and have some sort of a development, if you will. And we were talking last week about a little bit about what was the mentality piece last week exactly?
Oh man.
It was so I put it like crucible, cold, and collagen. But I don't know why the crucible. Oh, we were talking about
discipline.
Discipline, doing things that you don't want to do, essentially, or make slave the mind, or what was the quote? Make slave the body and make discipline the mind, or something. Civilize the mind, make discipline the body.
Yes, I think the exact one was civilized mind, savage body.
Mm-hmm. And I brought up some.
And if I have to give a quote that's a real cool one, it's one of my favorites of all times by Dr. Johnson. It says that he who allows himself to be a beast eases the pain of being a man. And I think there's something to that, like being a beast through your discipline.
Say that one more time.
See if I can do it again. He who allows himself to be a beast eases the pain of being a man. And I think there's something beastly to a highly disciplined life. There's an innate savagery to it, right? I mean, you think about any of the best athletes, best performers out there, the guy that gets up early in the morning, puts in the work on the mats, on the basketball court, wherever the venue is, like that person is a beast, and we know it. And it's not only just from a body perspective, but also from a mind, more so from a mind perspective, right? And I think that was kind of what we were touching on the other day, and I think there's something really powerful to that.
Yeah, and so it's kind of hand in hand. So we've further developed the idea a little bit into this week's mentality piece. And that is, once you make that decision, I would say mentally, it's a conscious decision to be a beast, but it's backed up by action, discipline, commitment, and those kind of things. And so today's mentality piece was immediate implementation. And there's kind of a wrestling. I think that next week we could probably develop this even further into like, well, when is it an okay time to just talk about something and plan? And I'll link what really inspired me to do a post that I did this week, which was, hey, essentially talk is cheap. What's more important than words and discussing what you're going to do is deliberate and decisive action, just like action that you take. And what I've noticed is that action, like immediate action and immediate implementation, starts to kind of, whatever you're planning on doing, whatever you're trying to do, you'll notice it starts to be brought to you. So it's not like you are doing it per se, but it's almost the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, like responding to your input. And it's written in ancient texts, and ancient scribes always referred to something like that as a manifestation, or being receptive to what the universe could bring to you. But what's funny about that is another conversation I was having. If you remember last week, the conversation I was having with somebody aligned specifically with the podcast that we were doing. And another thing happened just this evening where I was texting somebody. This person was talking about doing a spin class, and I said something along the lines of, I can't remember exactly what I said, but this person said, "Are you going to say I should mentally commit and stick to a plan and not assess the situation in the morning because I agree?" I said, "No, but that's a very good point. Systems only work when there are no room for hiccups." Because I said, you've been saying that you're going to try this spin class for a year and not going to it, always having an excuse. And I've noticed that in my life as well, is all of these things that we've talked about doing, we've talked about developing, we've talked about implementing, but we always put it down the road, right? And the thought I've been really kind of honing in on a couple different ones. One is the song by Rage Against the Machine, where it says, "If we don't take action now, we'll settle for nothing later." And the slogan from Nike, "Just do it." So, and we talked a little bit about like to be or not to be in Shakespeare, and I'm just throwing these ideas out there because it seems like it's kind of a wrestling with, like, as a man thinketh, so he is also, but there has to be action, like, behind every idea that you have, like immediate and deliberate action. So I don't know how to further develop that, other than where I tie it all together is like the world is run off a system of laws. Like, there's nothing that doesn't have a law tied to it. And the law that comes to mind with regard to this is inertia. And I think it'd be fun to dive into kind of what Newton obviously meant was objects in motion, but we are essentially objects too, right? And so you have to take deliberate and decisive action towards something in order to get it to move towards you, or like there's some kind of like a magnetism there where if we're going to be successful in anything that we put our minds to, what do you do with that idea? You have to put action behind it. You have to start moving. You have to start taking deliberate action. And you made some good points this week about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this conversation and the pre-work to it, it lit a fire under me as well in terms of, hey, we're doing we're talking about mushrooms and like how do we immerse more so, and we can have all these conference calls and different texts and back and forth on what we can do next, and it's like, well, let's just do it. Right? Instead of thinking about it more and, the paralysis by analysis type deal, it's just, we'll put it in action and see what happens. Let's do some experiments. Let's try things. Let's delve into these modalities and talk about it. And I think, we all know that, to your point of inertia, there has to be that initial push, right, to get something into motion. And not to say we're talking about multiple motions going on here in different directions, and I think that's important in that we all know those people that talk about things. Yeah, we should do that. Or we should totally get trained. We should do that jiu-jitsu. We should do a spin class. Or yeah, maybe next week. We know those people that talk, right? I'm going to start a business, or I'm going to do this, and I want to, do a YouTube video. But it's usually like it's talk. And I feel like that kind of mentality becomes a characteristic, and I don't know if it's something you're born with or something you develop. But I feel the ultimate source of that is just laziness, right? It's just lack of follow through, because it's hard to do these things. That initial inertia, like that push, is the hardest part, right? To get out your comfort zone and do something. And then as you do it, you gain that momentum, and there's less resistance, right? You got the moment. It's like you're going downhill now, and you pick up speed as you go. And I think there's something important there that it separates many people. And of course, I've had many times where well, not many times, but where I say I'm going to do something and I don't. And I've identified that that's a problem. And I'm not saying like at all times, if I say something or I think of something to do or plans, it doesn't mean it's a good idea and I need to do it. But I think there's definitely power to saying what you're going to do and doing it and see where it leads. I'm not saying you have to, continue if it's not working for you or it's not something you're enjoying or maybe, you're not getting the results you want, but there is just something so fucking powerful to just doing it. And I think that's kind of been the genesis of what we're doing here is, we're all in, man. And by approaching it with a consistent perspective, right? The scheduling, treating it like a business, treating it like a lifestyle, treating it like, an experiment that continues. I think that's the only way you get the data, you get the results, you have fun, and you start discovering things. And I don't want to be that guy that's known to, and it's funny, I was talking to my son about it the other day, and it kind of ties into integrity in a way. I kind of think it's one the same almost. We were at the playground and we're working out. He's doing all these sports and he wants to be better at it. So he realizes that, we have to train. And that's tough for when I was 8, I wasn't training. I wasn't doing exercise. But, I should have. I think I would have benefited greatly, especially if I had somebody leading me down that path. So anyways, he has this goal. And, as I'm doing my pull-ups, I expect him to do something as well, right? So I have him doing planks or I allow him, some freedom in terms of what he wants to do or if he wants to work on his push-ups. And, I'm doing my pull-ups and I look back and I see he's cheating, right? He's got his legs on the ground and he's resting. And we had a conversation after. I said, hey, man, what are you doing? I was like, hey, man, I see you. You're not doing the right thing. What's going on? He goes, oh, well, I don't know, Dad. And I was like, well, you do them in front of me, right? And I want to see it. But that led us to that conversation of integrity. It's doing what's right, even if somebody's not looking, right? And he's an 8-year-old boy, so I don't blame him. But I think that struck him, and it struck me as well. As like, man, it's applicable to so many things in life to say. If you're going to say something, you're going to make a plan, you're going to have an idea, and you're going to just do it. As simple as Nike say. Probably the best marketing campaign ever. I don't know when it started, but it's still going, still relevant.
Yeah. So I wrote down as a follow-up topic, integrity, doing the right thing even when no one is looking. And the funny thing about this, or I should say the serendipitous thing about this, is that Nike, we've mentioned several times on this call, Nike, just do it, and how that resonated with us. But the irony in that is that the guy who came up with that slogan, the night before he was supposed to come up with that, still didn't have like the slogan. But he stayed up all night researching and was inspired by, I'm gonna keep this cigar going. This episode is brought to you by Arturo Fuente, your leader in carcinogenic indulgence.
On a side note, this is also brought to you by Lucy, another less smoke-filled version of nicotine.
Okay, so he was stayed up all night researching, and he was researching some murderer that was put in front of a firing squad. And his last words, right before they said, "Do you have any last words?" He said, "Let's do it." And he thought that "let's do it" didn't have a nice ring to it, but "just do it" came to his mind. And so why this is relevant is you mentioned something earlier about, okay, everybody probably has some kind of ideal of what they want their life to become. And this is another topic of follow-up is we are not human beings, we're humans becoming. Everybody has an ideal of what they want their life to become. And this particular instance, a guy wanted to be a successful advertising executive for this firm, and wanted this firm to accept his idea, but he didn't have the idea, but he just put action in. What is that? Staying up all night researching. Think he wanted to stay up all night researching? You think he wanted to cuddle up next to some, warm woman and be comfortable? But what would he have gotten had he not put in that action and took that decisive and deliberate action towards I know I don't have what I need right now. I have to stay up all night getting that inspiration. And then it more or less he didn't create it, but it came to him. So why that's important is I think that really the key hindrance to most people is not laziness as much as it is getting hung up on the veneer over the value. So like us, for example, I mean, we got blurry cameras, we got a hodgepodge kind of ramshackle situation going on here, but we value the content rather than like the veneer of it. We spend all our time, well, let's wait until we get all the professional equipment and we have sponsors and we have enough followers and likes or whatever and enough community. Well, then it's never going to take on a life of its own. So just doing it actually does puts something in motion in the universe that then allows the magnetism for things to come to you that you never know what will happen as a result.
Yeah, I think it's also worth noting that the name Nike, and I'm not sure if it's Greek but it translates into victory.
Victory.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So what would be a cave meditation? So we can move on to, we got two more topics: nutritional modality, fitness modality. What would be a good cave meditation? I would say, from my perspective, it would be what is, to at the very least make note, like physical note, of what it is that you want to accomplish or what's been eating at you. Maybe you want to learn an instrument. Maybe you want to learn how to paint. To make note of those things, physical note of those things, and point your finger at it, like physically look at it, and then pick up the phone, call somebody, set an appointment. Like right after you commit to that, that's what I want to do. Set an appointment, set a calendar lock, do something, put something in motion that like actually forces you to take action on whatever it is that you want to do, and follow that up with like repeating that cycle every single week until you're actually in motion, and continue to do that, continue to build that out. So
yeah. It's easy to get hijacked. And I think, this is something I definitely apply from a business perspective, especially when you're buying, you're in a competitive environment, you're buying for time of buyers or customers, or the ability to, as soon as you agree upon something, or say, next steps is to like at that time, take those, like set up the next call, put in motion right there. I'll stop in the middle of a call, hey, I'm going to send you this invite right now for next week's meeting. We're going to progress further on this. Like right now, while it's fresh in the mind, not only for myself, it does help me, but it also helps the other person. And it kind of forces the next steps, right? Where now they're in alignment. It's set, it's going in that direction. And that's the next destination. It's like little touch points here and there to further progress whatever that goal might be, from selling this program or this item or whatever it is. I think it's so important, because if you say, yeah, well, let's connect sometime next week, that's usually not going to work. We're all busy, and you have to have some organization to where you're going, what you're doing. And I think that, just by putting these, on a reoccurring calendar lock for every Friday, that's a powerful statement. That's a powerful intention. It's non-negotiable. I'm not saying things won't come up, but hey, man, like, all right, maybe 30 minutes later on a Friday, nonetheless, right? It's on there, and there's a commitment to it.
Yep. I would say also like adding somebody else to keep you accountable. Like, so using the original example of the individual I know who was wanting to join a fitness class, maybe since say it's 8:30 at night and you can't call in and put your name on the list to do that right then and there, invite somebody else to go with you. Hey, I'm doing a spin class tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Do you want to come with me? Invite 5 people. And that way you have to go. There's no backing out at that point.
Yeah.
And then that sets in motion not only, it could be something that small, but that sets in motion not only what you do, but what you don't do to get in the way. And that's a whole nother topic of follow-up, would be hindrances to your path, hindrances to whatever your ideal of life becoming is, removing those hindrances. And if you're committed, come on out, baby. Oh, my daughter's coming out. Come here. If you're committed, then you're maybe not grab that extra drink or whatever tonight. Come here. How was your movie night? So we'll have to transition to the other two topics, but the girls want to say hello.
We'll
That's Coast Caveman, baby.
Hey there.
Say hi. How was your night?
Good.
Very good. It's my Stogie girl. What are you doing? Say hi, and then Daddy will continue. Come here, give Daddy a hug.
We're ready to go.
Are you going home? Why don't you just... Yeah, I will here in about 20 minutes. Okay, lay down on the couch for now.
Can we watch a movie?
No, you just watch the movie, okay? Lay down, read a book, get tired. If need be, I'll pick you up. And put
But
you
I
in the
don't
car.
have any books.
You can find something to read. Here, read this one. Look at this one. Okay. All right. Well, all right. So what's funny about them is they're getting super into this mushroom thing, which gives me a very good segue into our next topic, nutritional modalities. Top 5 fungi is what I put down on our notes. Top 5 fungi. They've got fairy gardens in their backyard, and the fairies have been communicating with them about fungi. And that's why I asked you this week about the kits to grow, is because it would be cool to figure out how to get those going. The fairies are asking about it. So,
speak no further, because en route, we've got a few kits coming. I mean, I think this is an idea we talked about before. No action behind it. I mean, I want to say we were talking about this maybe a year plus ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got coming for you a lion's mane kit, and this is one where you can grow more domestically. You can grow it in your kitchen counter. I've done it before. It's really cool. You just spray some water on it, a little bag, and keep it in a humid environment. So you'll have that. I ordered a couple as well for myself, where I'm going to do an experiment on terraforming. And I live in a pretty rural area, and there's all sorts of great these old growth forests and such. And you can, I guess, inoculate a tree with these fungus, and you can grow your own, set, I guess, in motion, your own mycelium, the mushrooms, just, you see them growing out there naturally. Well, this is a way to terraform a bit, kind of create your environment to suit you, your nutritional needs, that's why so many people have gardens, right? That's why people, even without gardens where you can eat fruits and vegetables, people plant things and just random things that serve no purpose really, right? To tend their garden. There's something really therapeutic to it. I mean, as humans, that's what we do, right? We terraform our environment wherever we go. You go into a hotel room, you might hang a picture of your family for the week, or you might organize some things in a way that is more conducive to your workflow. And so I've got a couple. I'm gonna inoculate as soon as they arrive. I imagine sometime next week. I'll start growing some. I believe it was shiitake and some turkey tail.
And turkey tail.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish your thought. I thought you were kicking.
Yeah. So we were talking about it for a year past, and we're doing it now, right? It's
yeah.
And in this day and age, there's no excuse not to take action. It's literally we live in such a amazing time where you're a few clicks away from whatever item you want, or if you want to, whatever book you want to read about, or if there's I think most often these obstacles they're self-made. They're you create them yourself, and with Amazon or any other app, you can a few clicks away from whatever you might need. So that kind of inspired me to go further in this, because I like mushrooms. And now, granted, it's one of those things where I'm still a little bit on the fence. We discussed before, and I had some insights on this as well, where I've done these. You can get the mushroom pills. You get the they'll put them in capsules, and you can take them every day like a vitamin. And I never noticed any sort of actual significant effect. And I started thinking about it. It's all right, well, how long does it take? How long does it take to enact some sort of effect? Well, maybe I did it for a couple weeks, right? And then who knows how consistent I was? Maybe not as consistent as I should be, but with anything in life,
8 weeks is the answer to that question. 8 weeks.
I was thinking around 12 weeks, but 8 seems like a good one as well. I think 8 to 12 weeks, that's a powerful time frame to be doing something consistently if you want to actually see if there's any sort of any sort of result. So that's kind of something I'm committing to more so because I've been a naysayer when it comes to a lot of different supplements out there. It's like, well, maybe I wasn't taking it consistently, or I wasn't taking it in a timely manner where it actually had enough time to have an effect. Like, and I think the great analogy of that is like working out, man. If you work out once a week and you do it for 4 weeks, what kind of result are you going to get? Well, you might get a little bit depending on where you're coming from, but generally speaking, it's probably going to be nominal. It's not going to be something that's life changing. And I think like you might have to progress that experiment much further than that. And that's kind of something I'm doing internally in my life now is when I do these little experiments with supplements or even a workout or some sort of new habit I'm trying to build, I think there's got to be a commitment more than just, a few weeks. It's got to be, I think 8 to 12 seems like a good heuristic for it.
Yeah. So a few things, and we're going to have to hammer through these last two topics because obviously I got to take these kiddos to get them to bed. But I'm going to do a shameless plug on our own website, leftcoastcaveman.com. On that website, leftcoastcaveman.com, I'll put the link down below. We have articles that I'll continue to fill out. You can continue to fill out. One is being fungal beings. Our purpose today is to kind of run through maybe top 5 reasons why, or top 5 fungus that you should continuously get. And sourcing is clearly an issue. And so we'll follow it up with a product review on our terraforming kits. So you can grow them at home, but usually your farmer's market, if you have a farmer's market, will have a gourmet mushroom booth. Whole Foods, if you have a Whole Foods anywhere near you, they normally have some of the mushrooms that I'm about to quickly run through in terms of their names and their core, I would say, nutritional benefits. But leftcoastcaveman.com, we'll have the product reviews on there. We'll put in more detail some of the benefits of these mushrooms. But I'll start with a story though, anecdotally. I picked up this book, Healing Mushrooms. Let me kill my light so you can see it. Oh, you can see it. Healing Mushrooms by Tero Isokapila. I don't know how to say his last name, but excellent book. It's kind of got and also we'll have recipes on there. I'm going to post a recipe next week using salmon and lion's mane mushroom in a dish. Kind of playing on both the neurological benefits of getting those healthy fats and the neurological benefits of the lion's mane mushroom. You mentioned turkey tail. Turkey tail mushroom has been proven in clinical studies along with cancer treatment, to increase the efficacy of cancer treatment and shrink cancer cells. Mushrooms, we could spend weeks, hours every day talking about the health benefits of mushrooms. Absolutely amazing. I can tell you from experience, when I started taking lion's mane powder every day, that I had completely forgotten the order of operations on a Rubik's Cube. And then one day, I was taking the lion's mane mushroom by Laird Superfood, every single day for several weeks, and just picked up the Rubik's Cube and just did it. And I was like, whoa, that was weird. And then I started playing songs on the guitar that I had written back when I was 13 years old and completely forgotten about. And it was freaking me out, dude. But there's actually that's anecdotal, but there's actual science to it. So I'm going to go through several mushrooms just real fast, just bang, 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 bang from this book, and read some of the highlights, top level, just highlights of what those benefits are. Starting with reishi mushroom. Reishi, it was known as the queen of mushrooms. Only emperors and other royalty in China could use them at one point. They were kind of exclusive for that upper class because they started noticing the health benefits of them. They're better they help you sleep better. They're an adaptogen. Let's see. Where'd you go, man? Did you leave me?
No, I mean, I'm here, dude. I didn't open the door.
Okay, gotcha. They're known to repair DNA and mitochondria, the reishi mushroom. Chaga mushroom. Chaga mushroom has over 10 times the antioxidant value of your highest antioxidants, whether that's acai or what's the other one? Pomegranate. Has 113,000 milligrams or whatever, or per 100 gram antioxidants compared to any other antioxidant out there. So chaga. So so we've already got Anti-inflammatory, repair DNA, healthy for your mitochondria. Now we're talking about antioxidant benefits in chaga mushrooms. So we got reishi, we got chaga. It's the richest source of antioxidant found in nature. Let's see. We'll move right along. Cordyceps. Heard of cordyceps? They kind of look like fingers. I think I have a nutritional modality posted on leftcoastcaveman.com on cordyceps, using those in like an egg white in the morning. They'll do like an egg white scramble with cordyceps. You can find at the farmer's market in Studio City. And they kind of look funky, but I mean, you can notice like a boost of energy from them. So if you have energy, you have antioxidants, you have reparative mitochondria and DNA. So chaga or cordyceps are known to help with fatigue and a more sustainable source of energy. Now we got 3 mushrooms. What would be our top 5? Cordyceps taking 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams a day is the recommendation. Stimulate lymphocyte production to kill foreign bodies in the immune system. It's just, I mean, this stuff is amazing. Lion's mane mushroom is known to repair neurons in your body. Issues arise when considering the blood-brain barrier, an internal filtering system whose purpose is to protect the central nervous system. So they're known to repair the blood-brain barrier. It stimulates synthesis of NGF, whatever the heck NGF is. Might be some kind of a follow-up for us. So that's 4 mushrooms.
That's nerve growth factor.
Nerve growth factor. Perfect. So the other one, I mean, maybe like shiitake comes up too, and that shiitake is pretty well known in the culinary community. You can find those everywhere. You can find them in your grocery store. It's rich in essential amino acids. So people don't often connect chronic acne or persistent breakouts with what's going on in our internal organs, but our skin is really a mirror for whatever is happening in our liver. So it's talking about the shiitake mushroom is good for cleansing your liver, good for skin health, and all this kind of stuff. So really, we could delve into mushrooms in many different ways, but I think the gist of it is just in 5 mushrooms, we've covered off like antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, neurodegenerative properties, skin health. What was the other one? Blood-brain barrier. It's literally, I mean, so we definitely have follow-up to do in terms of hunting and gathering, what to do, like how to get them. You have farmers market, you have Whole Foods, you have these terraforming kits we're going to discuss, but also there's a lot of powders that like OM, I've posted a lot of stuff on them, and they have like a complex. So it'd be interesting for us to dive into kind of what are the benefits of the powders versus actually consuming the mushrooms themselves. But long story short, if you're scared of mushrooms, maybe the powder. If you can't get over the taste or something like that, implementing that into your diet via powder format, definitely. I can't stress enough. I think that the cave meditation for the nutritional modality of mushrooms is you should be getting them in your diet.
Yeah, and so one thing I'm working on, I'll have this up probably later tonight, if not over the weekend, under that nutrition page. I put together just a really quick pocketbook compendium for mushroom supplementation, and it's just a real quick. It lists the mushroom types and just a quick bullet point below it on the different benefits, just so because there's a lot. You could spend a lot of time on research on these things, so this will help you kind of navigate that more simplistically, as well as when you're out there, quote unquote foraging, where you can whatever need you might have for the week or the day, this will help you dial that in more fully and effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's something to it. As I said, I've never experienced any sort of groundbreaking results from it, but I also believe that it's probably due to lack of consistency with it. So that's something that
is key for sure, dude.
Yeah.
Sure.
With anything in life. And I think if you're looking for some sort of effect or benefit, it's going to take more than just one dose. And just like with the antibiotic, right? You got an infection and you take one dose of your, whatever mycin. It's probably not going to be enough to get you the desired effect of, back to health or back to homeostasis. So big important piece there is consistency. And, as we get more data points and a more thorough review of these, supplementations, I think we're really onto something here. And I mean, these things have been around forever, longer than humans have been. And one thing that I thought was really interesting, just a fun fact about mushrooms, that I didn't know was mushrooms breathe oxygen. Most plants out there, are going to eat a carrot or, some lettuce or, trees, they take in carbon dioxide, right? Whereas mushrooms is the only other, I guess, growth species out there, much like us, that respires with oxygen. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, we have a lot of chemical composition similarities to mushrooms. And I can't stress it enough. I mean, we're not going to do it justice. I know we're running out of time on the cast. We try to keep these to like 15 minutes per subject, and we always go over. We'll develop a better cadence, but more to come. I mean, again, Left Coast Caveman, I am so ingrained in the mushroom literature, man, that I believe we communicate to each other via like mycelium network like mechanisms, let's say, and that mushrooms can be sort of viewed as an intelligent being, almost similar to human beings in that they're interconnected, and the healing properties of mushrooms, where we just kind of nailed through them, like adaptogenic, neurodegeneration, inflammation, you name it. I mean, and just like nutritional benefits, one of essential amino acids, protein, flavor. I mean, shit, they taste good if you cook them right. Literally, I mean, find another food that has that much diversity in health and nutrition and actual like interconnectivity with human beings. And let's not forget the fact that they sort of resemble sexual reproductive organs as well. And they're very fascinating. I get it that some people are repelled by them for some reason. Now, some people do not like the flavor of them, and that's why there's a lot of products out there that we'll be reviewing that can allow you to get the benefits of mushrooms without having to withstand the taste of them. Even though I can't imagine why you wouldn't, if this has to do with probably nutritional modality or like an actual cooking mechanism or cooking method, because man, I've always loved the good taste of mushrooms fried in butter with a little bit of light Himalayan salt on them. But gonna have to jam, man, because we got one more topic and I got to get these kiddos to bed. But we were talking, so we always talk about mentality. We talk about a nutritional modality and then a fitness modality to include both like an exercise modality or just something with your body. And it was funny that you brought up earlier before we started rolling. I don't know if we were recording or not yet, but just how you don't like something physiologically changes within you when we hit record, or when you stand in front of a group of people and start talking. And I did a little bit of research on the topic of public speaking, and what happens is like, people start breathing up in their chest, and like that massages your adrenal glands. And like once your adrenal glands start getting activated, you're like, it stimulates that fight or flight mode. And I've been reading about breathing in general and the differences in like different techniques, whether that's breathe in for 4 seconds, like box breathing, whether you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and then breathe out 4 seconds. But I think generally speaking, being cognizant of what your breath is doing or where your breath is at. Are you holding it in your chest, or are you bringing it down into your belly? As far as a cave meditation, it would be do research, find a breath work technique that works for you. Experiment with different ones, because there's a lot of different breathing techniques out there. For me, holding my breath underwater, I've been doing a lot of like focusing on bringing my breath to my belly rather than up in my chest. For you, you've been talking a little bit about the Wim Hof, which is clearly he's like King Kong of breath work. Curious to know what you've taken away from that book, and kind of what your key takeaways are and how you've noticed it work for you.
Yeah. So been running an experiment. I want to say, this is probably week 3, and there's so many different benefits, and I don't want to get into all the science of it, because 1, I'm not a scientist, and 2, it's complicated, and I want to make this easily digestible, so I can just kind of share anecdotally. 1, that I've read the book, right? His latest one that came out maybe a month ago. And it's 2-part, right? It talks about cold exposure and talks about breath work. And so one of the ones that I've been following daily is it's a really quick one. It's like 11 minutes. And essentially what you do is you lay down, you get comfortable, you relax, and you take 30 deep breaths, 30 or 40. And as you said earlier, these are deep belly breaths. And then you breathe out the carbon dioxide and you without pause, and you do that for 30. And then you hold your breath, right? You create this like hypoxic environment. And then, you start out like holding your breath for a minute. Then you take one deep breath in, hold 30 seconds, create some intra-abdominal pressure. And then you repeat the cycle 2 to 3. It's 3 to 4 more times. 3 times is 11 minutes total. And in each cycle, you'll hold your breath for a little bit longer. As I'm still in the beginning phase, so I want to say I'm getting up to about 1.5 minutes. And it feels it's strange. Like you start feeling like tingling in your hands, your feet. I start feeling my muscles kind of like twitching a little bit, and you just really get aligned with your body, which, I mean, that out of any great meditation, that's part of it, right? You want to align with your body and push out thoughts, and it's a meditation in itself. But like, why am I doing this? What are some of the purported benefits of it? And this is where I'll go into just a high view of like the science behind it. But I'm really intrigued because I'm a big performance guy, right? So most of the things I do for the benefit or seeking the benefit of some sort of advantage. Obviously my jiu-jitsu practice, but in my weightlifting or just any practice in general, cooling the body down. Being able to relax more before a presentation or giving a talk. So real quick. One of the benefits, so when you're doing this breathing technique, I guess one of the things you do is you create this hypoxic environment, right? And it's going into like that hormesis thing, right? Where that's, small doses of say a poison can actually have these advantages where it stimulates your body to adapt. And, similarly, when you lift a weight, right, you create some tension, you create a challenge, and your body adapts to it. Well, it's the same thing with the breath work. And what's really interesting in science, what they're finding from a physiological perspective is that in every cell of your body, when you're creating this hypoxic environment, your body in every cell releases this HIF, which is hypoxia-induced factor. And so what this does, it stimulates the production of new blood vessels, so like increases your amount of blood vessels. And also, I guess, upregulation of genes that produce EPO, which is essentially this hormone that stimulates the creation of red blood cells. So,
hey Nick, what was the acronym for what you said that every cell in your body releases?
HIF. So it's hypoxia.
HIF, like Frank.
Yeah. Hotel India Foxtrot.
Got it.
So hypoxia-induced factor. And so the big takeaway from that is you're now creating more blood cells. You're also creating more capillaries, more blood vessels, and that's more oxygen, right? So by creating this environment of low oxygen, you're stimulating your body to adapt and create more ways for it to more efficiently like transport oxygen. Well, when you look at it from like a metabolic perspective, your whatever activity you might be doing, oxygen is really fucking important, right? That's how your cells essentially break down the glucose and going through the citric acid cycle and all that stuff. So it's a fuel, right? This is a way to like make more efficient your body's ability to generate fuel and to remove waste products. And I mean, that's captured me right there. So that's one of the reasons why I'm really interested in this side of the cycle. And also, I mean, I feel good after doing it, man. Like you do feel more like energized in a way. It's not energy like as in you just had a cup of coffee, but there's just another level of alertness to it. And so letting the experiment continue 8 to 12 weeks is kind of, and this might be something I continue to do, following that. I mean, there's all sorts of other really cool benefits to it. Like anybody that's familiar with Wim Hof knows, is probably his endotoxin experiment, where long and the short is through doing this, he's able to actually stimulate, I guess, a different reaction of his immune system. And I mean, so many of us out there have issues with their immune system from, just chronic inflammation, systemic inflammation. And this is another way to, I guess, down-regulate your body's, out of control inflammation. Think about autoimmune diseases, arthritis, eczema, stuff like that. So that's another side effect I thought was really, really interesting to me. It creates a more alkalized environment in your body, which, there's a lot of products out there like these waters, and which I don't know much about, but from what I've listened to and heard, like those don't do anything for your body. But the fact that you can actually legitimately create an alkalized environment in your body by pushing out all that carbon dioxide through that breathing, where you're really saturating the body with the oxygen and then holding your breath, you actually stimulate an alkalized environment. I think that's super interesting. And he talks about how I guess you start producing these other metabolites, pyruvate, lactate, which are all, those are metabolites of glucose breakdown. And then, just, I don't know, I mean, any way to become more healthy on a daily, I mean, especially in this time of, viruses being out there, there's just a fear mongering around it. I think this is an important time. If this is a way you can naturally stimulate your immune system, why not? So that's kind of why I'm doing it. I think it's really interesting. And I mean, you look at many of the religions out there. I mean, there's many different cultures that have touted the benefits of breath. I mean, we do it all the time. We do it without thinking about it. But what's interesting is what happens when you actually think about it and you put some purpose behind your breathing. And I think that's when it gets really interesting.
Absolutely. Because I mean, like the other side of that is you notice when you're not in control of it, when you're up in front of that public group and it's like, and you notice your heart rate start going and all that kind of stuff. It's like you can feel the physiological impact of that. So using just basic logic, you should be able to deduce that there's something to being able to control it, and there should be physiological benefits to controlling it. And in the spirit of this cast, I mean, I think that, yeah, we can dive deeply into mushrooms. We can dive deeply into the variety of different breath work and like Kundalini type breath work that you can do that is supposedly can even stimulate like a hallucinogenic type effect in releasing certain like chemicals and compounds in your body through breath work. It's very fascinating, but if you're not privy to any kind of subject or this type of subject, most people don't even think about it. Most people just say to themselves, oh, I just can't public speak. I just get too nervous. It's like, maybe you don't. Maybe if you just have, or to put it in Wim Hof's method, I mean, like what I love about like what we do is that I always pick up on one little thing, and I'm hoping that somebody picks up on one little thing that can help them out. And like Wim Hof one time, I don't remember all of the science that he's discussed. I don't remember all of the benefits. I remember him talking about the brain stem and how, I don't remember his story. Like he's got a very fascinating story that he supposedly he's done some very amazing things, and he allegedly has, healed himself of certain diseases and not been able to like avoided certain sicknesses, even though he like willingly injected himself with certain viruses or bacterias, and he claims that his breath work has healed him of some of that stuff. But what I remember most of what he says is every once in a while I hear him in my ear just going, just breathe, motherfucker. Just breathe. And it's like, that's true, man. It's like sometimes like if I'm starting to get nervous or if I'm starting to get stressed out, I'm like, where's my breath right now? So like a cave meditation for this topic would be, where's my breath right now? Okay, you're getting stressed out. Where's your breath right now? Maybe you need to take 5 minutes and just breathe in, breathe out, and bring that breath to your belly and like just relax and just work on your breathing and actually be aware of your breathing. Increase your awareness of your breathing. Whether or not there's like, I'm not going to sit here and say that, left coast caveman, right? The cave people, our ancestors probably didn't have really in-depth knowledge, and it gets a little woo-woo on the science about the breath work, but no doubt about it, like you can tell when that lion's coming at you, your breath is up here, right? That's panic. But if then how does that feel? So like take control, know that you're in control, be in control.
Yeah. And what I really like about the whole Wim Hof, especially in this book, there's so much out there, the cultive environment and the followings. What I like about the Wim Hof book and what he's done is I feel like he separates from that really well. more so as many of the experiments he's done in labs at universities. So I mean, there's a scientific body behind what he's doing. So it's not just he's some crazy dude injecting himself, with some mold at his house, in the Netherlands. No, he's in a clinical environment, having them inject him with E. coli bacteria. And this is one of those things where like everyone has an effect to it. Their immune system reacts to it. And that's good because the immune system, that's its way of fighting it off, clearing the body, returning back to homeostasis. But what's interesting is he's able to do that, but also not do it in a way that he's experiencing the fever, the fatigue, the general malaise of your body being invaded by a foreign pathogen. And that's where it gets really cool. And, in the book, he talks about that, where they describe the experiment, where they inject him with that endotoxin, and he's able to fight. He's able to have the inflammation necessary to stimulate increased leukocytosis, which is like blood, the white blood cells, but also reduce the other side of the inflammation, which is like the release of these cytotoxins, right? The things that cause this really nasty inflammation. And then this is all proven. Like they take his blood, they analyze what's in the blood, and they see that like these C-reactive proteins, these calprotectins, they're not in there. But he has this huge bolster of white blood cells, and that's what's healing him. So that's where I think it gets really interesting, where he's essentially controlling what we would expect, or most research suggests is an automatic system that can't be influenced by the human brain. And via this breathing, he's able to do it. And what's even more interesting is he's able to teach people to do it and then replicate that experiment. So it's not like he's just some genetic gift. Yeah, it's like he's able to take people and put them through the training and then have the same result. And that's where I think it's really fascinating. I mean, the ability to regulate and have control over things that we previously thought uncontrollable, that's where it really piques my interest. Like, okay, well, what things in my life are, what I thought were uncontrollable, that were outside of my ability, but maybe they are, and maybe I can influence them through, training, through consciousness. And yeah, man, I mean, that lion pops up, you're probably going to have a reaction to it. But I think you can also, doctor that reaction via training, via your brain, and to quickly figure out a solution, or to fight smart. I mean, granted, you're fighting a lion, you're probably fucked, but this fascinates the hell out of me. And I feel like it's just the iceberg of what you can influence your body and mind to do. And yeah, couldn't think of it. I mean,
Absolutely.
and if you go onto modalities, actually, I believe it might be in mentality.
Coast Caveman.com.
Yeah. I just put up an article on that, and I think it's under modality. And there's links to the book where you can purchase it. There's links to a YouTube video that I've been following every day. And
I'll flip up the article on the when I edit the video and post it. I'll put the article up there. So what's the article called? leftcoastcaveman.com/
Wim Hof method.
Wim Hof. Okay.
He's an interesting guy, man. We don't have to get into his story or whatnot, but it's riveting. And he's done some amazing things through breath, through cold work. And I'm intrigued. And I think a lot of people should also be intrigued. And who knows, maybe there's some benefits. Maybe, you can help out with, alleviate your arthritis, or you can help reduce your anxiety before a presentation, or however it manifests for you.
Well, if anything, I mean, so first of all, cave approved then, the method?
100%. I mean, not to get too much into my story on it, but I've been kind of having some weird things going on with my lungs, and the last few days it's felt markedly better. And granted, this is anecdotally, there's so many things that could be explaining it, but I think I'm onto something, and it feels good doing it. And much as we talked about with discipline, consistency, there's nothing that feels better than it. Be consistent in what you're doing, and yeah. So I think that it's a multifaceted benefit to it, and highly recommend anybody check it out on the site.
All right, brother. I mean, to recapitulate, look, these aren't going to be perfect. We are Left Coast Cavemen. So we are hunting and gathering and sourcing information that's around us. I'm glad that you're firsthand experimenting with Wim Hof. I've experimented with his method a little bit. I didn't have any like firsthand experience with it. Let's say that significantly changed my life, other than what I mentioned, which was just breathe, motherfucker. Like, in knowing that there's value in being aware of your breath. Mushrooms, absolutely. I mean, I can't stress enough how much those have changed my life. And anytime I implement them into my life, it's hard to pick up on the benefits of an adaptogen, of taking lion's mane every day, because not everybody has that specific story like I did, where I know how to solve a Rubik's Cube one day and then one day I don't. Or like, I set it down on my shelf for 6 months and then I forgot the order of operations. Like if you sat down and tried to do an algebraic problem right now, would you be able to do it? Probably not. But you don't understand that your brain has retained all the information that you've ever put in it. And what happens over time is that you create like this gray matter, like your neuroconnectivity sort of breaks down, neuro degeneration, and that lion's mane has been scientifically proven to repair that. And then all of a sudden you pick up the Rubik's Cube and you solve it real quick and you're like, oh shit, maybe that's what that's all about. And
there's definitely something to it, man. And you think back how many times, you went to college, right? You learned algebra. You probably relearned algebra. I would imagine you learned it in fourth, fifth grade, and then you go to college and you have to take an algebra class again. And if you had to compare the amount of time it took you to, and I'm sure as you went to that, the next in college, if you took that algebra class, it probably didn't take you very long to relearn what you learned before. And like, why is that? Well, it was already in there. You just had to like refire up those neurons, get those connections going that were already there before. So, I think lion's mane, that's part of the benefit of it, is it helps with like the myelination of the neurons. And once again, I don't know the exact science of it, but I think there's something to it. And if you could supplement to be more successful in recall of re-engaging with material or engaging material in more novel ways where you come up with a new idea, I think there's definite value there. And it's one of the more interesting mushrooms out there, that's for certain.
Yeah, it's probably the primary. So it's like if there's one of them that you could take, I would say it's that. Because mental health is certainly is kind of exponentially leveraging, but and then back to the mentality piece, it's that take something and just do it. Just go after it. Whether it's, maybe somebody takes this information and decides that all of it's bullshit. Okay, well, more power to you. But whatever it is that you want to do in your life, whatever it is that you have an ideal of something that you want to create an app, you want to create a new business, you want to do something, well, write it down right now, point to it, and take some kind of action towards it that involves, I would say, getting other people involved, getting an expert involved, getting an educator involved, sign up for a class, do something, like do it. If you don't take action now, you'll settle for nothing later. And so, yeah, we realize that this, episode 38, we're still in our infancy. We're just getting back going again, but we're doing it. So we recognize that just putting one foot in front of the other is important on the path. And with that, I think I'll give you the last word, but it must be the last word because we're an hour and 33 minutes. Ideally, these would be like 30 to 45 minutes. But here we are, 9:30 on a Friday. I've got a good cigar. I've got kids all around me going crazy, getting mad, but time to give it a wrap.
Yeah.
What's the cave meditation for episode 38 from the Sylvester? What's the cave meditation? The one thing.
I'm shooting blanks right now. The one thing that's standing out to me, and I have to make notice of it because I don't know if anybody else is picking up on it, but your hair looks fantastic, man. It's absolutely shining right now.
Collagen protein.
Yeah, there's something to it, man. It looks good.
Revisit episode 37, where we talk about collagen protein and the differences. And I think that we should, I made note of that last week, that we need to, because you talked about collagen type 1, 2, 3, but we didn't talk about collagen 5 and 10, which has been in this supplement that I've been taking daily. Been taking collagen twice a day, type 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10. So if you're noticing it, then, maybe there's something to it.
Yeah, it looks good. We'll have to figure out what 5 and 10 is, because I haven't researched anything on it, and I actually take a collagen supplement that includes those as well. I have no clue what they do.
Well, we'll pick that up next week then.
Worth looking into. I'm gonna do it.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you on Monday then.
Yep. Sounds good, sir.
All right. See you.